On these particular clips, they were all walking clips. So this way, when it gets done analyzing, it'll immediately start at a value that I will know will actually be worth looking at. Keep in mind, the more you move your camera, the less you can have that smoothness set. It will just distort it and warp it and make it look horrible. So if it's really jerky, you're going to probably end up clear down to 1. However, if you've recorded at 47 frames a second, even 1 will do a huge increase on stabilization and look pretty good. So, wham. I selected those 8 and it's encoding them. Now, what do I do next? Well, I'll go back to the ones. Now, I forgot, see, I should have checked this and I didn't. So I just wasted time because now it's going to have to reanalyze it. See, it has to restabilize it. So here, I'll pick up one I did check. So here's one. So now what do? I start with ones that I've already, while these are being analyzed, I start with ones that haven't been. And I just watch them. And that one should have already been at 12. There's already too much motion. It should have already been at 12 because I moved the camera. Again, 50 and 25 is if you're trying to hold the camera in one spot. This one's got cropping. Should have been at 12. I should have just started it there. So let me go back a little further to ones I definitely had started out the right way. So here we go. So this one, for example, I got down to 6. So what I do
it's just a video.
Is basically you go through, you watch the video, and as soon as you see distortion, we'll just pretend it was these. Like this one, I'm for the most part holding it still. I do zoom in and out, but the camera itself is fairly still. So I left it at 50. See, that looks pretty good. That one's at 50. Now, this one, I have it 12. I'm walking on it, so I watch it. No real distortion there. This one is at 12. I watch it. Looks pretty good. No distortion there. This one, I was standing still. I used it at 50. There's a little bit of warping going on, so I'm going to cut it down. It's very slight. I'm going to just cut it down to 25. I don't even wait. I go to the next one. This one is at 12 because I was moving. I started it at 12. You can see the warping there, so I don't need to keep watching it. The warping was only slight, so I'm going to go ahead and try 6. If the warping is really, really noticeable, then I would automatically do 2 steps. So that's my rule. If it's only slight or maybe hardly even noticeable, then I go 1 step down just to see what happens. If it's definitely noticeable, the image is cropped, I jump at least 2 steps. I don't even waste time with it. And I don't wait around for it to finish stabilizing that and see what happens. I go to the next one. So here's the next one. It's at 12. Could be that might be warping. It might just be the thing. Again, it's very slight, so I'm going to go down 1 step. Go to the next one. $12. Okay, there's definitely warping on this. That one didn't really have any. This one seems to have some warping. It's at 50. Not sure why I did that. It should have been 12 to begin with. Go to this one. These all look pretty good. Oh, there's some warping on that one. So my point is, now I'd already got a little head on these. My point is, I'm going to cut that down to 25. It's only slight. I don't wait for this stabilization to finish. I immediately go to the next video. I start watching it. Yeah, it's got a little. That one's at 50. I'll cut it down to 25. Again, those were ones where I was standing still, so 50 is a good reasonable point to start with. This one, go to here. Yeah, it looked like there was a little warping. I'll cut it down to 25. 1 step, because it just looked very slight. Go to the next one.
I don't know.
It's there. I'm at 12. There's still, it's only slight warping. I'll cut it down one step, half of 12, which would be 6. Let's go to this one. 12 is what I'm starting with. Definitely warping there. That wasn't even slight. That was a lot. I'm not going to waste my time with sticks. I'm going to go down 2 steps. Again, if it's very noticeable on the warping, and you can tell it's definitely warping, it's not like, well, maybe that's not really warping. You can definitely tell. Just cut to 2 steps. So step 1 from 12 would be 6. 2 steps from 12 would be 3. So I just need to instantly cut it down to 3. I don't waste my time waiting on it. We go to the next one. Wham.
Open it up.
Yeah, there was definitely warping there. We'll go down to 3 because it was definite. There was no question about whether it was warping or not. Go to the next one.
Take them out, or you can eat the whole thing. And so,
So we go to this one here. Again, you don't have to waste time for it. You just keep going. Now this one I walk really slow and very steady, so I think I wanted to try it at 50 to see. But I don't know if you can see it in screen recording. There was like this really odd effect there. It doesn't look right. Probably should have started at 12 as well. It should have just started there. But it's definite warping that I know it's warping. I can tell it's warping. It's not a question is it really there or just maybe how the camera moved. I'm going to jump two steps anyway, so I'm skipping 25 and going right to 12, which again, I was moving. I should have just started at 12 to begin with. So that's the process I go. Now, I don't wait for it to finish all these. While it's doing that, then I can go back and look and say, okay, did it finish warp stabilizing that last bunch that I gave to it? Because I'm jumping all over the place to do this, I kind of not following my own pattern. But had it finished warp stabilizing those last 8, once it's finished with those 8, you'll know because it'll turn, it'll show you on the top it's done. It'll turn yellow for the most part. I select the next 8, drag the warp stabilizer over, let it start working on those. Meanwhile, I'm going through the video. Now, so I went through and I say, okay, well, I went through all these, I viewed them, and I dropped them to the next level. I'm going to go back through now and look at it and see how it looks at the lower level. And if it looks good, see, now that just looks pretty much like I'm just walking with the camera. So that looks pretty good. It may have warping, I'm not sure. I'm going to go ahead and throw it to 1 just as good measure. Because again, 1 will still keep it fairly clean. But I wasn't sure if it was warping or not, so I will do that 1 step. I could have just left it. It was pretty good. So we'll go watch the next one. Yeah, that one actually should be 25. I should have put it at 25. So we'll go to the next one. That one actually, again, still could go down. It's definitely got warping. I'm going to go not 1 step, but 2. Go to the next one. Not sure. I think it's okay. I'm going to go down just 1 step as good measure. I mean, there was still something there, but I wasn't sure. And this one is at 50, and actually it looks just fine. This one does have shakiness, but I didn't see any actual warpingness. I already got it down to 3. It looks pretty good. I think it was actually good. So that's the first one I've looked at that I thought was good. Oh, I'm sorry. The other one I thought was good was the skeleton. Right here. That one's done. So this is what the next step. Once you know it's where you want it, right-click and nest it. This way, you can copy that nested clip into whatever sequence you want, whatever resolution sequence you want, whatever frame rate sequence you want, and your stabilization is now locked in. Also, because it's green, you know you're done. Again, now this one where I was walking looked good. I'm going to consider it done. I'm going to nest it. So green also not only locks that in, so now I can move the nested clip to any kind of sequence I want, and stabilization is going to stay locked. It also helps me to know where I left off. So go to the next one. I'm at 3 on this one.
It is a little lizard.
Yeah, there's warping right there. I can only go down one step, so I'm going to go to 1. I go to the next. So you kind of get the process. And again, I don't wait for it. I just go to the next. Then I can go back and look at those others that I was stabilizing. I mean, analyzing. If they're done, I can select another group of 8 and tell them to start analyzing. The point is the computer is constantly working, and I'm going behind it, trimming things up. And also because I have a bunch of little clips, it's going to do better on the stabilization. You're going to find that by going with this method, it's going to work perfect for you as long as you record it at a decent frame rate and shutter speed. You'll be able to keep track of everything. Then when all you're done, now you say, okay, I want to put this in a sequence that's, you know, we'll just use this one, 1080 sequence by 30 frames a second, well, 29 something. So then you can take your stuff and just copy it into the final sequence and go from there. And that's where you can do your fade in, fades out, your transitions, and all that other stuff can come. But your stabilization is now done and where you need it to be. So that's my process on how to get the stabilization to really rock and get done quickly and not take a lot of time. And it can be working while you're working, and it's a very efficient way of doing things. Hope this helps you. One thing I did forget to add is if you get down to 1 and the stabilization is still not working for you, and you know there's nothing else for you to try, that's when you can then do. And by the way, just so you know, even at 1. The stabilization actually really, when you have everything done right and you record it at a decent frame rate, the stabilization actually does help significantly. But sometimes you've got to go a little further. So what I do is I go here, and you can add the, if you get to 1 and it still doesn't look right, then I immediately throw the enhanced reduction on, and I check the detail analysis. If 1 still is not working for you, those are the other 2 things you can add. And if that still don't work, then you know you're kind of out of luck. You could possibly just turn the stabilization off. Sometimes it looks better to not have that really jittery look that you get than just to have it shake. So, you know, that's when you have to debate, okay, maybe I just will leave it without stabilization because it definitely looks wrong. You'll see in videos that shake that I'm talking about it. It looks like the camera vibrated, but what's happened is I had shook so much the stabilization did compensate, but it gives it a totally weird, it gives it a weird look, and it doesn't look right. But I've been lazy and I've just left it in the footage. But again, you can do the detail analysis and the enhanced reduction if you get clear down to 1 and you still need to go a little further. But what I would look at is if you're finding that you can't even resolve this at 1, look at how, you know, make a little effort to hold your hand a little more steady. It really is not that hard to even make it look good at 1 if you did it right. And again, check your frame rates. If you're doing all your footage at 30 frames a second, you're going to see that jittery thing even at 1. In fact, all the video I've ever done at 30 frames a second, if there was any kind of movement or jerkiness, 1 is the best I could ever get. And I had to do detailed analysis, rotor shutter, everything I could throw on it. Even though the rolling shutter is for something else, I would throw it on there anyway. just in case that would help if it was actually indeed a rolling shutter issue. But again, at 30 frames a second, you're going to have a hard time getting good stabilized footage from a GoPro because its shutter speed is going to be slower for sure to at least 1/30 frames a second. It'll allow it to go that slow because you're recording at 30 frames a second. So just keep those things in mind. But again, you should be able to get results even at 1, unless you're, I mean, it doesn't require a whole lot of effort. Just hold your hand just slightly steady. I'm not the steadiest hand is out there, and I've been able to pull this off with this technique. So just some things to try.